everybody, this is Kay Gray. Today I'm going to talk to you about motivation, what it is, and how to get yourself motivated when you think that you can't. Motivation is basically a reward system in your brain. Primarily, it is the dopamine chemical that rewards you for doing things. Let's say you're reading a book and you've turned the page. Simply turning the page gives your brain a kick of dopamine that makes you want to keep reading. When you have ADHD and other attention issues, it's usually a broken reward system that causes that. It's a erratic production of dopamine, and so it's difficult to stick to a task for very long. When you have ADHD, you might jump around from task to task or thought to thought, and it can be really difficult to complete anything in your life. An easy solution can be giving yourself functional motivators. So, for example, you know that you want to watch your favorite show today, but you also have to check the mail and write checks for the bills that you owe. So you just set yourself up for success by telling yourself that you can't watch your favorite show until you write those checks. It's really simple, but it absolutely works. I think that a lot of humans are stuck in trying to achieve things that they don't actually need. How can you recognize when you're doing that to yourself? For example, you really, really want that nice new car, but maybe you don't actually need it. What is a car anyway? If it's not functionally getting you from point A to point B, then what's the point if it's too expensive or it's something that you're going to stress about because you might scratch it? You have to back up and ask yourself why you want that car in the first place. Usually, if you dig deep enough, you're going to find something like that you're insecure and you need something that makes you feel better about yourself. The way to fix that need of wanting a new car is to address the key issue at the bottom rather than actually getting the new car. Pretty much anything that we experience can have a replacement, because ultimately you don't want a new bookshelf or a new partner or a new house or a new job. You want a certain feeling. That feeling is replaceable by many, many other things. The important thing is to identify the feeling that you're after. Is it to be happier? Is it to be more confident? Maybe you have some unresolved issues with your family or a friend, and you're trying to get over that. So you have to be able to face your feelings, and talking about it can really help, either with a friend or a therapist or even just journaling. But if you're constantly goal-seeking, especially if it's impulsive and you can't stop yourself, that's a signal for you to stop and reflect on what it is that's really going on deeper down inside of you. Let's talk about placebo for a moment. Placebo is seen as this kind of marker that tells us that something isn't real. So in an experiment, sometimes they will give study subjects a sugar pill. Some of them will get the actual medication and some of them will get a sugar pill. And we see that even when people who get a sugar pill, some of them will have an effect that mimics that of what they were expecting to feel with the medication, even though that they're not on the medication. And this is sort of a way that the scientific community discounts the feeling of placebo like it's not real. I think placebo and imagination are actually the same thing and have a really, really powerful function in our mental health. That's why we have religion. We created a bunch of stuff in our imaginations and we hold on to it pretty powerfully. We have like big reward systems that we depend on in order to be happy. We don't go to the movies because we want to know every detail about what's going on in the story. We go to the movies because it stimulates our imagination and it feels really, really, really good. So one of the best ways to replace constantly wanting things is to use your imagination. It can lead you to all sorts of places, pretty much anything that you could possibly think of, without the consequences of actually doing the thing. Let's say you're a chronic traveler. It sounds really fun, but when you don't ever let your feet touch the ground for any amount of time, you can't actually grow anything. And it is a way of getting away from your feelings. It may be a way that you're trying to get away from your feelings. Try just imagining going to new places. Do everything that you would do to go to a new place, except actually go there. Look up the flights, look up the routes, look at pictures, places that you might stay, places that you might visit, and write them down. Like, even make a little collage if you want. But then don't go and see what happens. Your dopamine will actually reward you for that imagination. Almost as much and possibly more than if you went there, because then you have to deal with traffic, and then you have to deal with spending a bunch of money and the stress of that, and maybe things didn't work out how you wanted it. Maybe your luggage got lost. Your imagination is always perfect. So you don't actually have to leave your house in order to get the rewards of doing things.
See all without looking, do all without doing.
There is this widely known consensus in the artistic community that if you talk about a project too soon before it's really become three-dimensional, that you will burst the magic creativity bubble and it'll never come to fruition. I think that I've discovered that it's actually your dopamine system that's responsible for this, that it isn't something outside of yourself, it's something within yourself that keeps that project from being completed. When we complete something, we get that dopamine kick. But again, imagination is more powerful than reality. That's where we get our dopamine, is from the thought of something. So when we let those words out, when we tell somebody about what we've been working on, it gives us that dopamine burst too soon, and then we get that lull, that depression afterwards, and we're just less likely, we're less motivated to work on it and complete it. So if you want to make sure that you complete that project, don't tell people. You can write about it, and that can give you the sort of additional motivator that eventually you'll be able to tell them about all of these details that happened while you were creating it. But letting it out too soon will make you depressed and not want to work on it anymore. You can learn to be the carrot in front of your own nose. You just have to use your imagination more than you might be used to. Society really, really wants us to spend money in order to be happy, but you don't have to fall into that trap. You can just think about the things that you want to accomplish in your life, and thinking about them can feel pretty darn good and can make you feel like maybe it's too hard to actually accomplish it, and that's okay. Imagination is good enough. I think that it's much like what they talk about in the Matrix.
If you're killed in the Matrix, you die here.
The body cannot live without the mind.
We have a powerful ability to create reality with our imaginations. And if you are careful and you pay attention to your thoughts, you will notice that the things that you think about become real. Your assignment for today is to come up with one replacement motivator. Something that doesn't cost money and doesn't create stress, and something that you don't owe to anybody else but yourself. Give yourself one reason that you should do something that is hard for you to do. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I hope you have a lovely day.